Hello again, I'm Quinn, and these are not bonsai. They are my little elms. And as usual, they're unlabeled. But I believe this is a Chinese elm. I got it over the winter here, so it kind of looked like this. So I don't really have any idea what real state it's in, though I am seeing little buds busting open here. I got little green leaves, I believe, coming out, so I'm guessing it's time to repot, which has been a little confusing for me, because this is kind of my first year to be repotting the amount of plants I have. Last year I think I did, maybe 15 or 20 different plants, and a lot of them I just put in bigger pots into my soil, basically just kind of cleaning the roots off, maybe removing a few tap roots, but no major root work. But this year I feel like I'm going to have a lot of work to do, because I've acquired many plants that will need repotting. But I think this one, I had gotten it on clearance. I'd kind of died back for some reason or another. Kind of, you can see maybe here there's some old brown leaves, but then the tips of a lot of these branches do look like they've kind of dried out, and they don't have any buds swelling up. Most of the buds I see swelling up are much lower here, which is fine, because I think we're going to chop this one rather short, because I do like these elms. They have very small leaves, and I like little trees, and I have lots of little pots, so we need to fill those up. And then this one, perhaps I'll pronounce it wrong, but I believe is a seiju, S-E-I-J-U, and it has an even smaller leaf and is a dwarf variety. I believe I had one of these before, or maybe another variant that was pretty close, called Hokkaido, maybe? I killed that one. A little bit too much trimming, I believe. Maybe I didn't water correctly after I trimmed it. Either way, round one, not so well. But I got another one over the winter here. So again, he was obviously dormant, but he's got some buds coming out as well. And I think this is because all of my plants are currently in my cold frame, and that would be an unheated greenhouse, I believe, technically. But it is warmer in there, and we have finally been getting some sun here in Seattle. I believe we just got very close to or broke a record for most consecutive days with pretty much no sun. So I'm guessing all my plants warmed up a little bit in there, started getting some sun. I just put a temperature gauge in there that should read the temp overnight as well, give me a high-low reading, so I can see kind of what the range is. Because from my understanding, for the most part, you do want the average temperature at night to be at least above 40 for most of your trees before you go to repot them. And I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I'm going to see what it gets to in the greenhouse. Probably go out there and maybe seal it up a little better tomorrow. See if I can't keep some of the heat in. But either way, I feel like it's time to repot these guys, and I'll try to keep them safe, and hopefully they'll make it. So let me do a little cleanup here. We'll get to work on, we'll do the big one first. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm going to have to just make this a segment. Thrift store acquisitions. I get so many pots at the thrift store. So, I have this teeny tiny little pot. So cute. No plans for it yet, but probably is now my smallest, teeniest, tiniest bonsai-ish looking pot. I have other very small pots, but they don't have that look. And then just a little cascading pot I got for 99 cents, so something will live in there. And then I got this, which has 6 drainage holes. Oh, and some on the sides here. Nice round pot, good sloping sides. So I feel like that'll drain pretty well. It'll be a good pot for something. I want to just take the tag off there, something I never do. That was $2. So, got a good deal on some pots this week at the thrift stores. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is chop it right about in half here. So it's got some good little branches coming off here. And like I said, most of the budding appears to be from kind of here down. And, you know, I don't want all this big of a tree. From my understanding, you know, bigger cuts should kind of be done earlier so the plant can recover. And also I had read that lots of pruning or bigger pruning scars can create kind of bulges, which I did notice on that first one I had had, but I thought it looked kind of cool, so, you know me. I'm not too picky. We'll see what we get. But let's get this out of the pot and see what we're working with. I'd also read that these roots are pretty fragile, kind of like spaghetti, they had said. So I brought my little bucket of rainwater in here, and I'm going to try to rake it as little as possible and do a lot of just root washing. It did say to try not to remove too many big roots in each repotting, but that aside from bigger roots, you could typically remove up to about half of the root mass. So I'm going to be going on most of this information today and kind of taking it easy on it. I'll be doing the big cut. Definitely want to cut off some of the bigger roots, but otherwise I do kind of just want to let him grow because I think he was in a little bit of a sad state last year. So we just kind of want to let him develop for a while, but definitely get him out of this tiny little pot. This always makes me rather anxious and nervous, the unpotting of a plant, because I don't really know why, but I assume it's you just don't know what you're going to get. It's nerve-wracking, you know, chopping these things up and then asking them to live for you. So let's get a little cut made here. My branch pruners, which kind of work okay. I feel like I paid a reasonable amount of money for these, but they're probably not doing the best of jobs, but better than what I was working with. So there's our little stump. Now let's see what we have in the way of roots. Let's see if this will just pop right out of here. Yes, it will. Alright, so you can see here I've probably removed about half the roots, and then good 3-4 kind of big ones that were just obviously out and about. And I'm going to clean it probably one more time, like rinse it in the water, and then I'm going to just kind of let it be, because like I said, I don't want to take off more than half. I do want this one to live and just kind of grow, and that's why I've picked a larger pot here. So it should fit right in there and kind of give it a good bit of room to grow. Nice drainage because there'll be plenty of physics. I'm not sure how exactly it works, but the larger your pot is like this, the more the water can push through. I'm pretty sure, because I do know my very thin, shallow pots, they actually hold water more than you would think they would. Though they do tend to dry out due to the surface area and the wind blowing across, so kind of helps equalize that it doesn't drain so well. But on that note, I should mention, like, if you had a pot like this, real thin and oval, when you do water, you're going to want to tilt it. Let it stay tilted for a while so that water can shed off a bit, because if you just let it sit flat, a lot of times a little bit of water will pull in the bottom, and that could rot your roots. Even though I've noticed that the top may be dry because of that wind I mentioned, the bottom might just have a little bit of water just hanging out down there because it won't make it to the holes. And one last little rinse. And I would like it to stand up a bit more, which we can do now. So it had a pretty gnarly angle going before. That looks good. I didn't need it straight up and down, just not at quite such the angle. Okay, I got that soil all packed in. Got it top dressed with a little fine orchid bark. We'll give it a good first watering. I like to do it nice and slow. Give everything kind of a minute to soak down. Then we'll give it a good thorough washing towards the end. Usually what I'll do is I'll let that first watering sit for, 10, 15 minutes. And then I'll give it another one. I'm going to clean up a little, get out the little dwarf elm, and we'll get to work on that one. Alright. So this one is very exciting. He's got what I think is going to be a great looking base going on him. It's very fat. I'll try to give you a close-up of that later. And he's got a lot of good branching for kind of what I would like to do. Because being not bonsai, I don't want to do like the pads thing and do any like cascading or any of that. I want this to kind of look like an otherworldly tree. I used that word before, I'll probably use it again. I don't necessarily want this to look like it had to have come from Earth, but we are going to do kind of like a flat top acacia feel to it since it's got this very fat trunk. It's got some big fat branches here. I think today I'm going to cut it down pretty hard and start developing ramification off those fat branches so that they don't get any thicker. So I don't want that to get too far developed and have not worked on it. So throwing caution to the wind, we're going to do quite a bit of chopping because I'm guessing with the amount of growth we have up here in foliage, these roots have to be pretty well packed into this tiny little container. So I'm going to get to chopping. I'm going to do kind of a base chop, and then I might bring you in, take a look while we do some more of selective chopping. Alright, there's our trimmed up product. Basically, I just cut it about in half, trimmed a lot of the bigger branches, and then anything growing kind of to the inside or just straight up. But honestly, this was not far from where I really want it to be. I think it's going to be a pretty neat tree in really a short amount of time. So like I said, this is not bonsai here. We're just making good looking trees. I did kind of clean it up, and I don't want to go crazy with it now because I am going to do quite a bit of root work. I'm thinking here. I already see some pretty large roots going on that I'll want to get ahead of now because like I said, this trunk's at a pretty nice spot. I already really like this. So we're going to clean it up. We'll come back and see what we got. Just to give you kind of an idea what I've been working with here, this is already less than half of the roots, and it is still just absolutely tangled in there. And this is where I kind of run into issues with online information, because it would tell me to only remove half the roots, which I've done, like more than half, and I've tried to be very gentle and very selective. There's just such a mass here. I feel like if I were to leave this another year, it would just be unfixable at some point, and not in the best interest of the tree. I just don't see how it could really breathe in there at all. So I'm just gonna keep going. I decided I'd rather try to correct a lot of this now and possibly lose the tree than just kind of keep it going and lose it later on down the road because I didn't address it. So, bye roots. Alright. So, I have mixed feelings. Considering where it was at, I feel like I've gotten it really well sorted. Is it as sorted as I would like? It is definitely not. I still fear that the next time I go to repot this, it's going to be pretty well tangled up, but it can't be as bad as last time, and we'll just be patient and work with it. I think I've cut about as much as I could, but like I said, I'm willing to take a chance on this rather than not get a desired outcome, but wait many years to find out I probably should have chopped it earlier. So, let's get this one in its new home here. This little pot, I believe, is going to give it plenty of room to grow. Just fill it in with a bit of my soil here. I think this one's going to take a good bit of poking. So I'll poke for a while, and then I'm going to top dress it with some of my little decorative rocks. Alright, like I said, I like to put a little of this decorative rock, horticultural sand it's called, on top. I feel like it helps retain some of the moisture, reduce that loss due to drafts. And this did seem to have rather fine roots, and a note I did want to make is they weren't quite as soft as spaghetti. The fine ones were very delicate, but this was so matted up that I really had to lose a lot of roots, so it's kind of hard to say at this point. But the more developed roots, they were able to be raked. So I'll definitely be using a root rake in the future. What I had read made it sound like, you know, they were just going to fall off when I looked at them, basically. But, I mean, better safe than sorry. They were, like I said, the fine ones were pretty delicate. I like to give it a little tap at the end, and that has to be helping settle some of those air spaces. I did a lot of poking. And then I have my orchid bark. And this will be the actual top dressing. I just do a little for, I like the way it looks. It smells nice. My brain seems to tell me it might help repel pests to a degree. Does all mulch do that? Only some? Only certain types of wood? No idea really. But I do like the way it looks. And it's got to help retain a little moisture. And these do, from my experience and from online, they do like to be moist. Obviously not wet. Hardly anything likes to be wet. Definitely don't let it dry out. Alright, let's give them nice little water. And then we'll take a look at both of them. See kind of what we got here. Alright, here are our little elms all potted up. And wouldn't you know, I didn't really get what I called the front and the back, kind of lined up in the front and back. I do that frequently, but like I said, most of, if not all of my trees are just in development, and I'll just be happy if they survive. Well, thanks again for joining me here on NotBonsai.